Добрый вечер. Надеюсь, что у вас все хорошо, замечательно и чудесно. Сегодня я бы хотела почитать книгу с вами вместе на английском языке. Это будет тихий голос и шепот. Где-то половина на половину. Вот. Книга будет на английском языке Гарри Поттера. Вот, вторая часть называется «Тайная комната». Надеюсь, вам понравится. Итак, можете принять удобное для вас положение, расслабиться и слушать. Итак, сегодня у нас будет глава 15. Называется Арагог. Chapter 15. Арагог. Summer was creeping over the grounds around the castle. Sky and lake alike turned periwinkle blue, and flowers large as cabbages burst into bloom in the greenhouses, but with no Hagrid visible from the castle windows, striding the grounds with Fang at his heels. The scene didn't look right to Harry, no better, in fact, that the inside of the castle where things were so horribly wrong. Harry and Ron had tried to visit Hermione, but visitors were not barred from the hospital wing. We had taken no more chances, Madame Pomfrey told them severely through a crack in the hospital door. No, I'm sorry. There is every chance the attacker might come back to finish those people off. With Dumbledore gone, fear has spread as never before, so that the sun, warming the castle walls outside, seems to stop at the mullioned windows. There was barely a face to be seen in the school that didn't look worried and tense, and any laughter that rang through the corridors sounded real and unnatural, and was quickly stifled. Harry constantly repeated Dumbledore's final words to himself. I will only truly have left this school when none here are loyal to me. Help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. But what good were those words? Who exactly were they supposed to ask for help, when everyone was just as confused and scared as they were? Hagrid's hint about the spiders was far easier to understand. The trouble was there didn't seem to be a single spider left in the castle to follow. Harry looked everywhere he went, helped rather reluctantly by Ron. They were hampered, of course, by the fact that they weren't allowed to wander off on their own, but had to move around the castle in a pack with the other Gryffindors. Most of their fellow students seemed glad that they were being chauffeured from class to class by teachers, but Harry found it very irksome. One person, however, seemed to be thoroughly enjoying the atmosphere of terror and suspicion. Draco Malfoy was strutting around the school as though he had just been appointed head boy. Harry didn't realize that he was so pleased about until the potions lesson about a fortnight after Dumbledore and Hagrid had left. When sitting right behind Malfoy, Harry overheard him gloating to Crabbe and Goyle. "I always thought Father might be the one who got rid of Dumbledore," he said, not troubling to keep his voice down. "I told you he thinks Dumbledore's the worst headmaster the school's ever had. Maybe we'll get a decent headmaster now. Someone who won't want the Chamber of Secrets closed. McGonagall won't last long. She's only filling in." Snape swept past Harry, making no comment about Hermione's empty seat and cauldron. "Sir," said Malfoy loudly, "Sir, why don't you apply for the headmaster's job?" Now, Malfoy," said Snape, though he couldn't suppress a thin-lipped smile. "Professor Dumbledore has only been suspended by the governors. I dare say he'll be back with us soon enough." "Yeah, right," said Malfoy, smirking. "I expect you'd have Father's vote, sir, if you wanted to apply for the job. I'll tell Father you're the best teacher here, sir." Snape smirked as he swept off around the dungeon, fortunately not spotting Seamus Finnegan, who was pretending to vomit into his cauldron. "I'm quite surprised the Mudbloods haven't all packed their bags by now," Malfoy went on. "Bet you 5 galleons the next one dies. Pity it wasn't Granger." The bell rang at that moment, which was lucky, as Malfoy's last words. Ron had leaped off his stool, and in the scramble to collect bags and books, he attempted to reach Malfoy went unnoticed. "Let me at him," Ron growled, as Harry and Dean hung onto his arms. "I don't care. I don't need my wand. I'm going to kill him with my bare hands. Hurry up. I've got to take you all to herbology," barked Snape. Over the classes' heads, and off they went, crocodile fashion, with Harry, Ron, and Dean bringing up the rear. Ron still trying to get loose. It was only safe to let go of him when Snape had seen them out of the castle, and they were making their way across the vegetable patch towards the greenhouses. The herbology class was very subdued. There were now 2 missing from their number, Justin and Hermione. Professor Sprout sent them all to work pruning the Abyssinian Shrivelfigs. Harry went to dip an armful of withered stalks onto the compost heap, and found himself face to face with Ernie Macmillan. Ernie took a deep breath and said very formally, "I just want to say, Harry, that I'm sorry I ever suspected you. I know you'd never attack Hermione Granger, and I apologize for all the stuff I said. We're all in the same boat now as well." his friends, Hannah, came to work at the same shrivel fig as Harry and Ron. "That Draco Malfoy character," said Ernie, breaking out their twigs. "He seems very pleased about all this, does he? Do you know, I think I've been mited by Slytherin's hair." That's clever of you," said Ron, who didn't seem to have forgiven Ernie as readily as Harry. "Do you think it's Malfoy, Harry?" Ernie asked. "No," said Harry so firmly that Ernie and Hannah stared. A second later, Harry spotted something that made him hit Ron over the head with his pruning shears. "Ouch! What are you?" Harry was pointing at the ground a few feet away. Several large spiders were scurrying across the earth. "Oh yeah," said Ron, trying and failing to look pleased, "but we can't follow them now." Ernie and Hannah were listening curiously. Harry watched the spiders running away, look like they're heading for the Forbidden Forest, and Ron looked even unhappier about that. At the end of the lesson, Professor Sprout escorted the class to their defense against the dark art lesson. Harry and Ron lagged behind the others so they could talk out of earshot. "We will have to use the invisibility cloak again," Harry turned on. "We can take Fang with us. He's used to going into the forest with Hagrid. He might be some help." "Right," said Ron, who was twirling his wand nervously in his fingers. Aren't there supposed to be werewolves in the forest?" he added, as they took their usual places at the back of Lockhart's classroom. Preferring not to answer the question, Harry said, "There are good things in there too. The centaurs are all right, and the unicorns." Ron had never been into the Forbidden Forest before. Harry had entered it only once and had hoped never to do so again. Lockhart bounded into the room, and the class stared at him. Every other teacher in the place was looking grimmer than usual, but Lockhart appeared nothing short of buoyant. "Come now," he cried, beaming around him. "Why all these long faces?" People swapped exasperated looks, but nobody answered. "Don't you people realize," said Lockhart, speaking slowly as though they were all a bit dim, "the danger has passed. The culprit has been taken away." "Says whom?" said Dean Thomas loudly. "My dear young man, the Minister of Magic wouldn't have taken Hagrid if he hadn't been 100% sure that he was guilty," said Lockhart in the tone of someone explaining that 1 and 1 made 2. "Oh, yes, he would," said Ron, even more loudly than Dean. "I flatter myself I know a touch more about Hagrid's arrest than you do, Mr. Weasley," said Lockhart in a self-satisfied tone. Ron started to say that he didn't think so somehow, but stopped in mid-sentence when Harry kicked him hard under the desk. "We weren't there, remember?" Harry muttered. But Lockhart's disgust and cheeriness, he hints that he had always thought Hagrid was no good. His confidence that the whole business was not at the end irritated Harry so much that he yearned to throw Gated with the goose right in Lockhart's stupid face. Instead, he contented himself with scrawling a note to Ron. "Let's do it tonight." Ron read the message, swallowed hard and looked sideways at the empty seat usually filled by Hermione. The sight seemed to stiffen his resolve as he nodded. The Gryffindor common room was very crowded these days because for 6 o'clock onwards the Gryffindors had nowhere else to go. They also had plenty to talk about, with the result that the common room often didn't empty until past midnight. Harry went to get the invisibility cloak out of his trunk right after dinner and spent the evening sitting on it, waiting for the room to clear. Fred and George challenged Harry and Ron to a few games of exploding snap and genie. Sat watching them, very subdued in Hermione's unusual chair. Harry and Ron kept losing on purpose, trying to finish the games quickly, but even so, it was well past midnight when Fred, George, and Ginny finally went to bed. Harry and Ron waited for the distant sounds of 2 dormitory doors closing before seizing the clock, throwing it over themselves, and climbing through the portraits hall. It was another difficult journey through the castle, dodging all teachers. At last they reached the entrance hall, slid back the lock on the oak front door, squeezed between them trying to stop any creaking, and stepped out into the moonlight grounds. "Course," said Ron abruptly as they strode across the black grass, "we might get to the forest and find that there is nothing to follow. Those spiders might not have been going there at all. I know it looked like they were moving in that sort of general direction, but..." His voice tailed away hopefully. They reached Hagrid's house, sad and sorry-looking with its blank windows. When Harry pushed the door open, Fang went mad with joy at the sight of them, worried he might wake everyone in the castle with his deep booming barks. They hastily fed him treacle fudge from a tin on the mantelpiece, which glued his teeth together. Harry left the invisibility clock on Hagrid's table. There would be no need for it in the pitch-dark forest. "Come on, Fang, we are going for a walk," said Harry, patting his leg, and Fang bounded happily out of the house behind them, dashed to the edge of the forest, and lifted his leg against a large sycamore tree. Harry took out his wand, murmured, "Lumos," and a tiny light appeared at the edge of it, just enough to let them watch the path for signs of spiders. "Good thinking," said Ron. "I would light mine too, but, you know, I would probably blow up or something." Harry tapped Ron on the shoulder, pointing at the grass. 2 solitary spiders were hurrying away from the wand light into the shade of the trees. "Okay," Ron sighed, as though resigned to the worst. "I'm ready. Let's go." So, Frank, scampering around them, sniffing tree roots and leaves, they entered the forest. By the glow of Harry's wand, they followed the steady trickle of spiders moving along the path. They walked for about 20 minutes, not speaking, listening hard for noises over them, breaking twigs and rustling leaves. Then, when the trees had become thicker than ever, so that the stars overhead were no longer visible, and Harry's wand shone alone in the sea of dark, they saw their spider guides leaving the path. Что ж, я думаю, что на сегодня это все. Возможно, кто-то из вас уже заснул. Если вам понравилось чтение этой части, то напишите в комментариях, и мы продолжим читать продолжение. Вот. Я надеюсь, что у вас все хорошо, и вы смогли расслабиться благодаря этому видео. Желаю вам всем хорошего вечера, либо дня и приятных сновидений.